Hey, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Dynasty in 30. We've got Tim back with us this week. I am excited for this episode in particular because it's one where I get to admit that I was wrong. Yeah, maybe not, but as always, huge shout out to Fins Talk Sports Network. You can find Dynasty 30 every Saturday on Fins Talk Sports Network Extra and the Fantasy Now Plus YouTube channels. So look us up either one. We will be there every Saturday. We will be right back with Dynasty in 30.
You're watching Dynasty in 30, only on Fantasy Now Plus.
Hey, glad to have everybody with us today. The season is in full swing, Tim. How are you coping?
Pretty well. Had some priors confirmed, and as we'll talk about today, had some things that did not go the way I was expecting. So excited to be fully in the swing and see how week 2 builds upon week 1.
Absolutely. For those of us who, don't like to admit that we were wrong, this is going to be a little bit of a tough show. We're going to go over some of the players where we kind of expected one thing and, well, we happened to be getting a different reality once the games actually started. So, all those takes that looked so good on paper, I guess they say that's why you play the games. Any other information you need, Fantasy Now Plus has you covered all week. We now have 8 weekly shows going on. Mondays, it's cold brews and hot takes. Tuesdays, you can get your priority waiver information. Wednesdays, we actually double up. We've got the start sit showdown helping you with your tough calls. And then we've got the fantasy rankings report kind of going and looking at where we see some differences throughout the industry. Thursday is Get Tilted. That's going to be our DFS show going over the main slate. Friday, we've got a new IDP show. Saturday is us, Dynasty in 30. And Sunday morning, we've got Bites and Insights helping you guys get your rosters ready and your game day meals prepped. So, Tim, I'm going to give you a platform here. I want you to tell us, what was the first victory lap that you took this season?
I was taking victory laps before the season started. I said all along about Travis Hunter that they were not going to take him 2 overall to play primarily cornerback for a team that has a young franchise quarterback that needs to be proven and only one other good receiver. And that was proven very much correct week 1. Again, he may play more defense some weeks than others, but he's not going to come off the field that much on offense. And when he was on the field, they targeted him over Brian Thomas Jr. Whether that continues or not remains to be seen, but they obviously want to get him involved.
Yeah, what's your take on that? Obviously, everyone had really high expectations for Brian Thomas coming into the year. Do you think that was kind of just a 1-week fluke and expecting Brian Thomas to kind of reassert control of that wide receiver room? Not saying that Travis Hunter won't still be involved, just not to the same degree.
I mean, I kind of blame the way that last week went down on the lightning delay. There was a more interesting game before it happened, and then much like the previous week's game of where that was delayed as well, like it just kind of died after the fact. So I don't know. I think it kind of lines up with what we saw from Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay. His slot receiver, Chris Godwin, was the number 1 receiver in fantasy before he broke his leg. Yep. And he was getting peppered with targets. He was absolutely crushing week in and week out. And Mike Evans was fine, but even he kind of had to fight to get to 1,000 yards last year. And I think a lot of that was just he was a bit more of a backseat receiver when Godwin was on the field. And
yeah, he did miss a couple games too. So
yeah, he did. And
cut
I
him a
think
little slack.
BTJ is more talented than Mike Evans at this current point. It's not prime Mike Evans anymore. So I also think that there's a chance that Hunter is more talented than Godwin was last year. So it kind of remains to be seen, but I do think that there's a chance that Hunter just out targets him all year. But I do think BTJ still has that size, speed, ability that we want in fantasy. So he's certainly not a fade. He just might be more volatile than we might want.
Yeah, I think I kind of look at it as I think they were trying to establish Hunter early on, and just like get him into the flow of the game. Plus, he tends to run those shorter routes out of the slot. Give them a chance to get Trevor Lawrence dialed in. He was a little off to start the season, which sometimes you're going to see when you haven't played at game speed for a while. I do think that Brian Thomas is going to essentially be the guy for that passing offense. I think when they need it, they're going to go his way. Travis Hunter, though, definitely is going to get his opportunities. Like as mentioned with what you were saying, he's that slot role in Liam Cohen's offense. So I definitely agree. I think both are going to be very, very good plays all season. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to thrive in this new system, and it's just going to be good for fantasy all around. So I'll kind of take the reins here. My first victory lap was, as many of you are going to know, Harold Fannin Jr. Just absolutely crushed it. Week 1 actually ended up out targeting David Njoku and kind of like just almost out alphaed him. Like he was taking the routes that David Njoku had been taking in the past, which had been making Njoku an interesting tight end every week, especially with the athleticism. And week 1, we saw Harold Fannin come in as a rookie tight end, start getting playing time. They were playing him both in 12 personnel with Njoku on the field. He even got some run in 11 personnel as well. So I think it was, I forget if it was the first drive or the second drive, he even had a wildcat carry. So this is a guy that they definitely want to get involved. I was beating the drum for him all off season. He was actually my second tight end on the board for this rookie class. I did have Colston Loveland ahead of him. Obviously, he started kind of quiet this week. Tyler Warren came out with a bang. So I do think all three of these guys are going to end up being just awesome tight ends for the foreseeable future. Congratulations to anyone who was able to get them, because they all look like they're going to have the talent and the ability to keep going for as long as needed. So Tim, got you back. I was just victory lapping Harold Fannin. So
yeah, as you should.
So let's get into players that we do have to actually change our thought process about. So this could be a guy who you expected to smash and who just isn't, or it could be someone who you were just kind of out on. You didn't like the situation, and then week 1 comes along and the usage is just so different than anything. Who are you looking at and kind of buying into what you're seeing where we need to go up and change our priors?
My first guy would be Breece Hall. All off season, it was just, this is a committee, this is 3 backs, we like them all. And then week 1 happened and it wasn't really a committee. They still tried to get Braylon Allen a couple touches, but he was pretty much ineffective on those, and Breece Hall looked great. And for Dynasty, he is on the last year of his deal with the Jets. He will most likely become a free agent in the offseason. And he's still in his prime athletically. I don't
Yeah.
think he's yet at risk of slowing down or going to a new team and kind of tailing off. I think he still has juice. He's still a good pass catcher. He still has breakaway speed. And I think you might still have time to buy low a little. People might think it was fluky, or they might be trying to quote unquote sell high. But I think he's talented, and I think the Jet situation is better than we expected. So if he stays, that's good. And if he leaves, that's probably also good. He'll probably go somewhere where he may even be the bell cow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on Brees. That was a really encouraging game. He's such a tough player for me this year. I pegged him as like a huge. I mean, he's not even a sleeper because he was already projected to be good, but I think I had him as like a top 3 or 4 running back coming into last season for redraft. So I had been really, really high on him, and then it was just a disaster all around. That team could not move the ball. Seeing him in week 1 this year, I think it's pretty clear he was not at 100% yet, coming back from injury. So I'm glad to see the old Brees Hall back. This is the guy I was hoping to see last year. Like you said, he is in his prime. Like, he looks fast. He can catch the ball. He's got the juke moves. He's got the change of speed, change of direction. He's really got all of the tools to be a feature back for a team that wants him to be a feature back. And so time will kind of tell if that's the Jets this year. It seems like, they did talk all off season about a committee. Maybe they just weren't quite ready to go there. Maybe they're hoping to get into more lopsided games to really establish it. But yeah, we'll definitely see. Looks like, okay, we've got a question here from Mo Diesel. Start to half PPR. Warren, Pittman, Mooney, Johnston. Is that Tyler Warren or is that Jalen Warren? Well, let's come back to this one in a little bit, because I've also got some stuff to say about Johnston coming up. So let's, he's actually one of my course corrections, is Quentin Johnston, wide receiver for the Chargers. I was out after his rookie year. It was kind of a disaster. He was one of those guys that was really athletic, I think. Didn't necessarily have a really refined route tree coming out. And I think it really showed up in year 1. Year 2, they got the coaching change coming in. I think that helped quite a bit. It was kind of a reset that he needed. He's still a size speed freak. He is one of those guys that once he has the ball in his hands, he is tough to bring down. He can get around the edge if he needs to. He can go uphill. He can run over defensive backs if he needs to. My big thing coming into this year, and why I had still kind of been out, is especially when Keenan Allen signed, I was expecting, they drafted both Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith, who had looked good in the preseason to play the X. I don't know how much production they were going to get, but they were at least capable of playing and being a sacrificial X if needed, just kind of running the deeper routes and opening things up for others. And then when Keenan Allen signed, I'm thinking, well, okay, I mean, Keenan Allen, they're not going to put him in the slot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Ladd's job. So you can't take Ladd out of the slot. He's too good there. When we look at Keenan Allen, I mean, he's getting older and he's generally played more slot. So I was expecting him to move into that flanker role. They lined him up immediately at the X. Yeah. So I was completely wrong on the usage there. It has kept Quentin Johnston on the field. He looks better too. He doesn't seem to have the same drop issues that just absolutely plagued him for the first year and some of the second year. So if he really has cleaned that up, and we're not just seeing a small sample where, he's not, just didn't drop a ball week 1. I mean, he's in a high powered offense now. They passed way more than we expected.
Yeah.
And he's on the field more than we thought. So he's kind of one of those guys that if you have a manager in your league who remembers those first 2 years and is pretty leery and has been looking for a way to get out, I mean, a week 1 2 touchdown performance, they are probably jumping at it. I'm not afraid to go get Quentin Johnston. I think he's one of those guys. If Keenan's not playing the flanker for him, I mean, I'll happily send a second. I think. I don't. I'm a little uncomfortable sending just a first. I'd probably want a little bit back there, or have add in other pieces to even stuff out. Just because I don't know what his ceiling is with Ladd McConkey there, but he's definitely someone who should be flexible every week. He should have the volume. He should have playing time, and I mean, frankly, they're designing plays for him. So they're looking to take some shots with him. They're getting the ball out quickly and getting him in space. I think he's one of those kind of weird wide receivers that kind of has the floor almost like a running back now. Whereas I think in his first year, they hadn't really figured that out. They weren't using him that way. And then he put up some donuts because he wasn't ready to produce against NFL cornerbacks consistently.
Yeah, I agree. Even last year, he had some big games, and he arguably looks a lot better this year so far than he did last year. Even drops aside, just his route running is a little bit better. He seems to be finding some soft spots in the zone a little bit better. So I think he might just be a third-year ascension. We're just so locked into trying to find the rookies who will and the second-year players who will, and we kind of just write them off after year 2. And as you said, this is a good offense, high pace of play. They did not run the ball very much. Will that continue? Kind of remains to be seen, but they have also proven that there are games where they're willing to do this. Those might be the games he is startable, but he's also easily their biggest receiver. He's going to be a red zone target for them pretty much no matter what. So, and Justin Herbert to me is still kind of underrated. I personally think he's a top 5 or 6 quarterback in football, just from a talent perspective. And
I dare you to say that in front of Mr. Harbaugh, that he's still underrated.
Yeah.
All right. So the question from Mo Diesel earlier, the start to half PPR, looks like it is Jaylen Warren. I think I'm probably in that case going to go with Jaylen Warren and Quentin Johnston. I think with Pittsburgh's a little bit weird for me. I think everything pointed to Jaylen Warren kind of being their main guy. They went out and drafted Caleb Johnson, who fits that scheme really, really well. So it was really surprising to not see him involved. They do seem to really like Kenny Gainwell, but
Arthur Smith, man.
Yeah, I think Warren is the best player in that system right now. He's proven it for a couple years, sharing with Najee Harris. If they don't have Najee Harris and they're not plugging Caleb Johnson into the Najee Harris role, I mean, I think either Warren we know can catch passes. I mean, he kind of had that role when Najee Harris was there. So actually they've kind of got both he and Gainwell can run that role, but I think Warren's the guy that they're going to want to feature a little bit more. And then, I mean, it was just kind of a weird game in week 1. And so I think you always have to take usage a little bit with a grain of salt. I think to some extent, they're still getting people back into shape, as much as they say training camp, you get fit, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, every year there's so many players that have soft tissue injuries in week 1 and 2. Players are leaving games early with cramps. It just, you can't emulate the toll that it takes on your body.
Yeah.
I think as we keep going and, now they've got another game under their belt, Warren performed fine on a split backfield, I think he's going to start taking a little bit more. And until we start seeing Caleb Johnson, I'm happy to keep playing Warren as like a running back to flex option. And then for Johnston, like we just talked about, like he's on the field. He is one of their receivers in 2 wide receiver sets. Like he's going to have opportunity. He seems to be improving, and he's on a good offense. With Pittman, I don't know that I believe he's on a good offense. I think that was kind of an abomination. And frankly, I think it shows more about the Dolphins than what the Colts did. And then Mooney, I'm a little bit leery with his shoulder. I don't know what kind of shape he's in, whether they're going to trust him to go up and get balls, or if he's going to have to be wide open to really get targets. So those are my 2. And then who do you have for wide receiver there? It looks like Waddle or Shakir.
I don't really want to start either, but I would start Shakir. Good offense. Josh Allen playing the Jets defense that just gave up 30-plus points to the Steelers last week. Shakir's probably not going to score you 2 touchdowns, but he's probably going to score you at least 10 points. So I think he's a decent floor with solid upside, but not week winning upside. Jalen Waddle's just too wide of a range of outcomes for me, and I don't even know if there is a ceiling anymore. They looked
so are you out on Waddle in Dynasty?
In Dynasty, I'm starting to get there. I mean, he's, I want to say 26, close to 27 now. Like, he's not young anymore. In reality, he's had one great year, and it was great. But is he just Jarvis Landry? Like, are we just kind of hanging on to him because it's like, well, he had 120 plus catches as a rookie? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. I'm struggling to know how much of it is like he heads to that medical tent so often, which is
every week.
Yeah, it's tough to watch that as a fantasy manager. But at the same time, like, he's also super talented when he's on the field.
Yeah.
Like, in a vacuum, he looks good when he's on the field. But then we've had injuries to Tua that have put some pretty poor quarterbacking on the field. I mean, the whole team was not clicking last year. I mean, kind of like the Jets. It was the Jets and the Dolphins were just underperformers, to say the least. I just don't know if I'm not ready to sell him. I think with the situation with Tyreek is just so strained and weird. Yeah. I think he could very well walk into a 30% target share in the second half of the season. And even if he's not efficient with that, I mean, that's at minimum high wide receiver 2.
Yeah. I wouldn't sell him.
Like, I'm not there yet. I can't get off of him yet. I can't quit you.
Yeah. I wouldn't sell him just because he's not going to get you very much right now, because it feels kind of bottom of the barrel-ish. But I don't think there's much room for ascension at this point. But we also have probably hit the floor, and the floor is fine from a dynasty value perspective. So he might just be someone you just kind of hold, and just when you need a flex play, he's always fine to toss in there. See how interesting it gets once Tyreek is out of the picture. Mike McDaniel's probably going to be out of the picture sooner rather than later at the rate this team is going. So
yeah, if they don't score this week. Oof.
Yeah.
Who's your second player that you're changing your mind about?
Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
That was scary in week 1. To me, he is very clearly more talented than Zach Charbonnet. And again, he scores fantasy points in the way that we want, but it kind of feels like the team has given up on the Kenneth Walker is our primary bell cow back experience. And it seems more like they kind of just want to do a 50-50 split. And Walker's in a similar boat to Hall, where his contract is up pretty soon, and Charbonnet's is another year or two prior to that. So we could get a situation where Seattle chooses Sharbs and Walker is on a new team. And the reason that, for me, he's a bit more of a negative view compared to Brees is that Walker just can't stay healthy. He's constantly injured, and all off season he was injured basically, and it is just kind of seeming like it's a trend. It seems like he gets a lot more soft tissue injuries than your normal NFL player might, and he's the same age as Brees Hall. Like he's not out of his prime yet, so he's not a full-on sell, but for me, he's not really someone that could become like a corner piece running back anymore either. And I think Brees still could be that, and I don't think Walker is anymore.
Yeah, I watch Walker play, and I can't help but thinking, like, his running style is just so violent, and he is so hard to tackle. I mean, that's kind of his niche is he forces so many missed tackles just because, I mean, he'll just go hit you and run through you. That style kind of lends itself to getting beaten up and having nagging injuries and not getting back to 100% each week. And so I don't want to call him injury prone. I don't think it's that. I think it's just his style. It's like the running quarterbacks. They open themselves up to bigger hits at times. The best ones are able to avoid the big hits, and the ones that aren't elite tend to get knocked out of games and be in and out of the lineup. They're great when they're in, and when they're not, they're not. Kind of like what we've seen from Ken Walker. I mean, when he's in, he's going to start. And when you knew Seattle was going to just feed him 20 carries a game, I mean, he was racking up 25 points a game, something like that. They trust him in the passing game, but I think they've seen all of these little injuries, these dings where he starts slowing down in the season. I think you might be right. I think they're at this point trying to protect him to protect themselves, essentially. Because I think they know they want him on the field. It's just he might not be one of those players that can handle 20 carries a game, even though he's a bigger guy. Like, he's able to take that contact and dish it out. But for some reason, his body just doesn't recover from it. And he ends up with nagging injuries that then leave him overcompensating and then getting injured in other ways. And it's disappointing to see, because I really like the talent. Like you said, I think he's much more talented than Sharbs, but what is it they say? What's the best ability?
Availability. And, just to wrap this up with a bow, like this kind of went underreported, but he literally said on his YouTube channel that he considered retirement this offseason.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Like, he just deals with so many injuries, and he's like never been healthy to go into an NFL season, let alone coming out of an NFL season.
Interesting.
Like, I am looking to move him now while he still has shiny name value. I would take a high second or a couple mid seconds, maybe. Look for a contender that only has two good running backs and might want a third to feel cozy. See if you can steal their first from them. If you maybe add on a secondary piece that doesn't have much value to you, but I don't think he's ever going to get the workload to be amazing for fantasy anymore. I don't think he can hold up with that workload. So I would be trying to sell him right now.
Yeah. Looks like we got another start sit question in the chat. Stella, I mean, that's a tough call whether we're starting Alvin Kamara or ETN in full PPR. I'm assuming this is Travis. If it's Trevor, then definitely go with Kamara.
Yeah.
Honestly, so I actually have ETN as a very sneaky play this week. We just saw Dylan Sampson. I think he caught 8 balls out of the backfield against Cincinnati. ETN is going to be on the field a lot. He's the guy that's going to be catching most of those. I think they'll rotate in LaQuint Allen for some passing down work, but there's no reason why he can't catch 4 balls against that defense. And now that they've traded Tank Bigsby, like the rushing work isn't really in question. I mean, Kamara's kind of in the same boat where we don't have to worry about his workload. We know he's the guy. I just think we still have some more questions about the New Orleans offensive environment. So I think I would probably lean ETN, but it is very, very close.
Yeah. I think it will come down to what you think is going to happen in that Saints and 49ers game. You know, if Mac Jones is just a pumpkin and this is like a 7-13 ball game, obviously you probably don't want to start Kamara because you have no touchdown upside whatsoever. If you think the 49ers will still be able to move the ball and the Saints are going to have to keep up with that, I would go Kamara. He just catches so many passes, and in full PPR, it just stacks up so fast. They played a lot of Kendre and Miller and Devin Neal in week 1, mostly rushing work, but they were both pretty ineffective. I'm curious to see how long they continue to do that, or if they maybe give Kamara some more rushing work just to like help the offense hum a bit better.
Who is your preferred handcuff there for Dynasty? So like you want to hold them now because they might have value in case of a Kamara injury, but like eventually Kamara is going to be gone.
I think it's Devin Neal. I will say this coaching staff does not abjectly hate Kendre Miller like his last one did, but they drafted Devin Neal. He made the team, which was kind of the biggest worry. He, I think, had the exact same amount of touches week 1 as Kendre Miller. I might be wrong on that, but I think he seems to be more in line with what Kellen Moore wants to do offensively. So in that case, I would definitely lean Neal. And in the start sit, I think I'm going to go Kamara. I am biased. I still love Bashal Tutin. And I think he might get more work this week than we might be expecting.
I think he will. Yeah. I think he's going to step in. He's definitely going to absorb some of that Tank Bigsby work. I view it as kind of a gradual, like maybe he takes 60% of Tank's workload this week. And then I think it's going to ramp up as the season goes. But yeah, I'm with you on Tutin.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that worries me about ETN is that if Tutin breaks a huge play early, they might just stick with him. And then you've got 50% snap Travis Etienne on an offense we want to be good, but has so far not proven it's good yet. It was average in week 1. So at that point, then I'm kind of just leaning Kamara's definitely going to get 5 to 7 receptions, almost certainly, with an opportunity for more. So it's close, but I would lean Kamara.
Okay. So I'll try and wrap this up. I know we're going a little bit over Dynasty in 30. Sorry, guys. I know it's so hard to keep it short. We get on here and there's so much to talk about. My other player that I'm very surprised to be saying this, that I am having a course correction on Indiana Jones. I thought he was done after the Crystal Skull. They got the Dial of Destiny, and now here he is with the Colts. I don't know. I was not expecting anything. One, I thought Richardson would get the nod as kind of that more explosive player.
Yeah.
Apparently the coaching staff wanted to be able to use the playmakers they had a little bit more, which I can understand going with Daniel Jones in that instance. I mean, they do have Josh Downs is an ascending wide receiver talent. It hasn't necessarily shown up in the box scores yet, but I mean, he looks the part.
Yeah.
Pittman, one of the most underrated receivers out there. Again, I think he's been on some tough offenses where his fantasy production hasn't been there. But again, he runs good routes. He gets open. They just haven't been able to consistently get him the ball.
Yeah.
And then they've always got Alec Pierce able to run deep routes. They've got Adonai Mitchell there, who I still really like. I think, we were talking about third-year breakouts. I'm like, this could be you. So yeah, I think I was really pleased with what we saw in week 1. Again, the question becomes, was that the Colts? Was that Miami? But he has the running game behind him to help. And if he does get into trouble, Daniel Jones is one of those guys that can take off. I mean, he can break an 80-yard run and still manage to fall down before the end zone. But I don't know if you remember that play. He's just one of those guys that I think he's got the floor because of his rushing ability. The weapons are good enough that all he has to do is be a game manager in the passing department. And then, I mean, we saw he had 2 rushing touchdowns. So even when they get close, it's not a guarantee, even though they have Jonathan Taylor, that they're going to hand it to him. So he very well could vulture some more short yard touchdowns, which is going to boost him even more. I think you have to take that into account. I don't think there are many situations where a guy is going to come in and get 2 unexpected touchdowns in week 1, like as a quarterback, without that being a significant part of the offense. Yeah. So I don't know if this is a reaction to the tush push. But I mean, it seems like it's going to be a thing this year with Daniel Jones. When they get into short yardage, they're comfortable with him keeping it.
Yeah. I posted on Blue Sky last Sunday that if Daniel Jones is given a Jalen Hurts utilization in the red zone, I'm going to have a bad year in fantasy. Because I liked a lot of Colts pass catchers and Jonathan Taylor, and I did not like Daniel Jones for fantasy. So, but yeah, I think, he's not old. Like, he feels old, but he's not. I want to say he's 27, maybe 28. He still has the juice. He runs, as you said. He's getting goal line work. And I still believe in Shane Steichen. I think he's a top-tier offensive play caller in this league. I just think that, unfortunately, he hitched his wagon to the wrong horse, so to speak. And, Anthony Richardson tried, but it obviously has not worked out. So, yeah, I think in one quarterback leagues, I think he's like your perfect backup, possible start play any given week in Dynasty. In Superflex, I think he's a quintessential QB2, maybe your third QB that you rotate in to cover bye weeks and injuries. But that's a long ways from where he was a month ago, where it was like,
when everyone expected Richardson to win the job.
Yeah, like a month ago in Superflex, it was take a third if you can get it. Like, now, please. And now it's like, he's probably worth a second and a piece, maybe. Like, if a team
I don't think I for
quarterback,
certain wouldn't sell for less than a second. I would, if I'm contending, I probably am paying a second. I mean, I think he's shown he's got that boom game upside. So I don't know. It catches me way off guard to feel this way about Daniel Jones, but
I know
it's 2025. This is where we are.
And the faster you move, the better deals you're going to get. So,
yep. If you can get in before we get even more information and your hunch is right, that's how you profit.
Yep.
So, all right, really quick before we go, Hollywood Brown or DJ Moore?
DJ Moore.
No. Hollywood Brown.
That Eagles defense is going to eat the Chiefs alive.
I think
they
they're just
don't
gonna have to pepper him.
Will they be able to? I mean, like they have one receiver who you feel you need to cover, and it's Hollywood. Like Kelsey looked very slow and very old in week 1. Worthy is for sure out.
It is Hollywood Brown catching passes from Patrick Mahomes
against the best defense that absolutely
they'll come get close, and then he'll like do his little teleporting tricks and come out the other side and sling it behind his back.
Listen, I have Hollywood Brown in a full PPR, and I'm starting him, but it's mostly because I have to, because my other option is like Dylan Sampson, and now that Judkins is back, it's like
catches.
I know, but it's now a 3-headed running back room back there against the Ravens. For me,
Michael, definitely make sure you report back to us. We need to know who you believed and which way you went, and then hopefully if you do start DJ Moore, you aren't going to be too disappointed when Hollywood Brown outscores him. If you do choose Hollywood Brown, congratulations. Sorry, Tim, had to do it.
All I'm saying is Hollywood was having kind of an awful game from like a stats perspective outside of that one broken touchdown.
Yeah.
I think he had like 8 catches for 30 yards at some point, which again, in full PPR, you're happy because that's 8 points plus the 30 yards, but like that could just happen again. And he just doesn't get the touchdown this time, where it's, you look up and it's 9 catches for 48 yards. And, meanwhile, it's also possible that DJ Moore goes for 6 and 100, or it's possible he goes for 6 and 25 and two rushes for 10. So
are we getting first half Caleb Williams or second half Caleb Williams? That's
I would like to think it's somewhere in the middle, more towards the good side. The thing that gives me hope is just that it is Ben Johnson against the Lions. So like he's going to
put on a show. That's going to be fun.
He's going to want to do anything in his power to score 40 points. So I am willing to make that bet, but I don't think you can go wrong with either of these guys. I think it might just come down to who scores the touchdown or who breaks the big play between them, because I think they both have a pretty solid target floor.
Yeah, I think that is a good question though, Michael, but definitely report back next week. Let us know. That's going to do it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have other players who you are just changing your tune on, drop them in the comments. Happy to come back, see some discussion, drop into the Discord. We have a Discord channel. We are happy to talk ball pretty much all the time. More so than my employer would probably like, but hey, it's fantasy football. It's August. This is what it's September now. Yeah. This is what we do. Yep. All right. So until next week, guys, we'll see you. This is Dynasty in 45 today. Not too bad. This is Dynasty in 30. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.